What is going on, guys, and welcome to my review for Him. This is a sports horror movie directed by Justin Tipping and is being produced by horror mastermind Jordan Peele. It stars Tyreek Withers as a promising young athlete who gets invited to train with his childhood hero to aid in his aspirations of becoming the greatest football player of all time. But while there, he is guided on a mind-bending journey that will show him that the cost of fame and excellence is a lot pricier than just the blood, sweat, and tears he has put in thus far, and he must dig deep to answer the question of what is he truly willing to sacrifice to become the GOAT. Now, because of Jordan Peele's involvement, this movie has garnered a lot of attention and buzz over the last few months or so, and while I get his name being attached to a movie in any capacity is enough to get a large portion of general audiences excited, for me personally, him as a producer as opposed to a director or writer doesn't carry a whole lot of weight in terms of impacting my overall excitement level for checking out this film. And to be honest, much to my surprise, I have had a challenging time drumming up a lot of excitement within myself for this movie. And the reason that is so surprising is because, one, obviously I'm a massive horror fan, it's my favorite genre, but two, I'm also a really big sports fan. Specifically, I really love football, and I have enjoyed a ton of sports movies over the course of my lifetime, so you would think that the merger of the two would make for a film that lands pretty high on my list for most anticipated of the year. But for whatever reason, as it pertains to this movie, it has just not done a whole lot to capture and maintain my attention outside of that surface level intrigue that I have for the blending of these two genres. Now, just because I haven't been on the edge of my seat waiting for this movie in no way means that I felt it was going to be bad or anything like that. I really didn't know what to expect going into it, so it had a real opportunity to surprise me. And being that I have never heard of any other sports horror movies before, if there are any out there, I definitely haven't seen one, it had a real chance to leave a mark on me by delivering a film experience that I have never seen before. And if it is able to pull everything off, we could be in store for one of the best horror releases of 2025, a year in which I feel like we have gotten a lot of solid to great output from the genre of horror. But is that what we got with Him? Well, before I get into it, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel as well for more movie reviews and content. Make sure to get down in the comments below and tell me all of your thoughts and expectations for Him. I would love to hear from you guys. Now let's get into the review. So starting with the positives, and by far what this movie has going for it the most is that this is easily the most visually interesting sports film that I have ever seen. I think you would be pretty hard pressed to find another one within the history of film that is capable of pulling off the level of visuals that this movie does. And I felt like every single frame was so carefully crafted down to the finest and most minute details. And it feels like the kind of movie that every time you rewatch it, you will discover a new little detail that you didn't pick up or see in the previous times that you watched it. Whether it be the thing in focus or just something in the background, I feel like there was always something on screen that was catching my eye. There's also a lot of cool and creepy costume design work in here as well. Some really beautiful landscape shots thrown in, and a lot of the editing techniques put to use in this film really help create its thrilling and intense atmosphere. And all of the scenes that involve the use of special effects, both practical and CGI, all look really good as well, in my opinion. Specifically, some of my favorite visual moments in this film are when you will have two players collide together and it switches to this X-ray or infrared vision and you can see the bones and their organs and the impact that the collision has on these body parts. It reminded me a lot of this video game I used to play on my PSP when I was a kid called Blitz the League. It's a more violent alternative to the more simulation style Madden football games that probably most people are familiar with. And in that game, when you would make a tackle, it would put it in slow motion, cut to the X-ray vision, and you could see their bones snapping and their organs bursting or their brain rattling in their head and their skull fracturing. And so seeing those moments in this film gave me a lot of nostalgia and took me back to the time where I used to play that game every single day. And I would be surprised if they didn't take a lot of influence from those video games. And so because of of that, these were some of my favorite moments in the entire film. Because this is a horror movie in 2025, there are some body horror elements at play here, and it by no means is trying to be the bloodiest or goriest horror movie you have ever seen. It more so goes the route of the, subtle and very uncomfortable style of gore. And being that the practical effects do look so good in these moments, I think it is very effective at contributing to the intensity that the movie is going for. I'm not sure how involved Jordan Peele was in the making of this movie. I think he did state somewhere that he did take a pretty hands-off approach with this one. So if this is all of Justin Tipping's doing, then I think he has already shown in only his second outing as a director for a full-length film that as a visual filmmaker, he is very capable and knows what he's doing. And if he can tighten up the other aspects of his game, then he could be a very intriguing director and visionary in the genre of horror moving forward. Talking about the cast now, of course, the two biggest standouts here are going to be Tyreek Withers and Marlon Wayans. The former I saw for the first time earlier this year in the I Know What You Did Last Summer Legacy sequel. He was actually one of the very few things that I enjoyed about that movie, and he does a really solid job in this movie as our protagonist and lead. He really embodies the character that he is playing. He delivers a very layered performance and really is able to show off his capabilities as a young and up-and-coming talent. But it's the veteran Marlon Wayans that I think most people will come away from this movie talking about the most, mainly because we just don't get to see this kind of performance from him all that often. He's charismatic, he's funny, he's intense, he's scary. He's really just a loose cannon the entirety of the movie, and you never really know what he's going to do next. There are times where you may like his character, but there's never a moment that you can really allow yourself to trust him. And if you're someone who has only seen his comedy works throughout his career, I think you will be very surprised by the performance that he delivers for this movie. Kind of in that same vein, another person a part of the cast here that surprised me was Jim Jeffries, of all people. I know him as a stand-up comedian. I didn't even know he did movies, and so when I saw him pop up in this as a doctor of all things, I really did not know what to expect from him. But amongst the cast of characters that you can just never really bring yourself to trust, I actually found him to be quite endearing and heartfelt, and he actually did deliver a few humorous moments to the movie as well. And as someone who has never really gravitated towards his style of stand-up, I would love to see him in more roles like this because his performance definitely caught me off guard. And after the two leads, he was really the only other character in the movie that I could ever really bring myself to care all that much about. Moving on to the negatives now, and even though this film is visually impressive and you get a few really good performances out of the cast, where I think it really falls short and disappoints the most is the story. This is a classic example of a film that is much more flash and pizzazz than it is anything of substance, and I don't believe it's a movie that is as deep as I believe it thinks it is. This is a relatively short movie. It comes in just a little bit over an hour and a half, and I think they just put way too much on their plate and don't have enough time to dive into these themes that they're exploring nearly enough, and so everything just kind of feels undercooked or underwhelming. And that's really unfortunate because I think the things they are exploring in here could produce a very good movie. And I think there's a great movie somewhere inside of here. Like when I hear a football horror movie, I think what they could have done is a really terrifying and horrific commentary on CTE in the sports world. If you don't know what CTE is, it stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy, I believe is how you pronounce that. And it's a degenerative brain disease that gets worse over time. And it is believed to be caused by repetitive traumatic blows to the head, like concussions. We see this a lot with professional athletes and those who have served in the military. It's a disease that has caused a lot of tragic real life horror stories. There have been multiple instances of retired NFL players who have harmed themselves and others due to what is believed to have been caused by the depression that was brought on by their CTE. Probably the most infamous story dealing with this condition is that of Chris Benoit, who was a wrestler in the WWE who one night murdered his child, wife, and then later ended his own life, and they opened his brain up to study it, and it was that of a 70-year-old man, even though he was only in his early 40s. And if they could have just focused in on that idea and made a really profound and thought-provoking horror movie about this tragic disease that a lot of young athletes just agree to deal with the consequences of so that they can provide for their family and the multiple generations of their family moving forward, then I think that would have been a far more compelling film than what we got, because what we did get was just a little bit of that commentary that has to share the stage with a lot of other less interesting ideas. Because squished in with that idea, you also have the religification of sports, the idolization of athletes, the battle against Father Time, demons, Illuminati, wanting to recapture your youth, the fear of being replaced. And they don't allot themselves enough time to dig into any of these themes any deeper than just surface level. And they all culminate into a third act that is just not as compelling or hard hitting as it could have been if they just trimmed a little bit of the fat off and focused in on some of the more compelling core ideas that they were exploring. And so, really, it's impossible to stick the landing on any of these ideas because very few of them even get off the ground in the first place. So those are my thoughts on him. Unfortunately, I think this is the sad tale of a movie that did have a ton of potential and is trying to explore some really good ideas within it. They are just trying to do way too much in too little time, so they cannot deliver on any of those good ideas in a satisfactory manner. However, you do get two really strong lead performances, and the visuals are very impressive, and I think that's enough to at least warrant me recommending you check this out once it's available on a streaming service. I don't think you would be as disappointed watching it on there as you would if you went and paid a bunch of money to see it in a movie theater, where I think there you would feel it does leave a lot to be desired. It's an easy movie to throw on at home. It's relatively short. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's not a slog to get through. But let me know what you guys think about him down in the comments below. Make sure to also give the video a like and subscribe to the channel as well for more movie reviews and content. I would love to have you guys here, and I can't wait to see you on my next one. Peace.